इससे बेहतर वुड कलेक्शन हो सकता है क्या? नहीं, मेरे लिए तो ये सच्ची में ओके, वो कैसे बोलते हैं ना, किड इन अ टॉय स्टोर, वैसा हालत है मेरा। ठीक है, मैं पागल हो रहा हूं। मैं आज हूं एक्वेरियम डिजाइन ग्रुप ह्यूस्टन में, अमेरिका में। अगर आपने पिछले वीडियो नहीं देखा है तो आप फटाफट देख लो। जेफ सेंस्के के साथ मैंने एक वीडियो बनाया है ग्रीनिंग के बारे में। लोटेक नहीं, ग्रीनिंग। नो मोर लोटेक एक्वेरियम्स, इट्स अबाउट ग्रीनिंग एक्वेरियम्स। एंड आज जेफ ने मुझे एक मौका दिया है वुड सेलेक्ट करने के लिए, एक ग्रीनिंग टैंक सेट करने का। नाउ ये जो ग्रीनिंग का टैंक है उसमें विदाउट CO2, विदाउट सॉइल, विदाउट एनी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड टेक्नोलॉजी सिंपल बना सकते हैं एंड फिर भी बहुत सुंदर बना सकते हैं। एंड आज हम वो देखने वाले हैं। जेफ के साथ हम सीखने वाले हैं कि ये ग्रीनिंग या लो टेक, एक्चुअली लो टेक बैड वर्ड है, सो ग्रीनिंग टैंक कैसे बनाते हैं देखने वाले हैं। देखते रहो। मैं जा रहा हूं वुड सेलेक्ट करने, स्टोन भी सेलेक्ट करना है। ये हमने सेलेक्ट किया है बिकॉज, आ जाओ, ये टैंक हम सेट करने वाले हैं। टैंक के बारे में और बताऊंगा, देखते रहो। ये एक अल्टम नेचर सिस्टम्स करके है, लॉस एंजलिस में है उनका ऑफिस। उनका एक 90 सेंटीमीटर बाय 30 सेंटीमीटर बाय 30 सेंटीमीटर का टैंक है। यूनिक टैंक है, बहुत सुंदर टैंक है। इसमें जेफ हमें सिखाएंगे कि एक ग्रीनिंग का एक एक्वेरियम कैसे बनाते हैं, लो टेक एक्वेरियम कैसे बनाते हैं। मैं बार बार बोल रहा हूं, लो टेक वर्ड मत यूज करना, ग्रीनिंग यूज करना। बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग कॉन्सेप्ट है, आप देखो, जेफ हमें सिखाने वाले हैं। सो और वेट नहीं करना है, चलो फटाफट जेफ को बुलाते हैं और ये टैंक सेट करेंगे, बहुत मजा लेंगे। आप शेयर करेंगे, लाइक करेंगे, सब्सक्राइब करेंगे और हम यहां पे ग्रीनिंग सीखेंगे। जेफ, सो अगेन thank you so much for doing this for us. I know you've had a busy day and we've taken most of your day, but it is so nice and overwhelmed that you could do this for us.
It's my pleasure.
Okay? And we've been talking about greening all this while. Greening? No, greening. You should say greening. Not greening. Greening is like greening. Okay, let's talk greening now.
Yes.
And you're going to teach us how to set up a simple greening tank that does not need soil. Soil nahi chahiye. Okay. Fancy kuch nahi chahiye. Very, very good filtration. Simple lighting. Okay. But still a beautiful planted aquarium.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
let's go for it.
All right.
Let's go for it.
Absolutely. So even in the greening style, our tendency is to start with our largest stones first.
Yes.
And really kind of establish our foundation.
Okay.
So I love this very kind of linear stone that you've chosen for the greening layout here.
Thank you. This is my choice. Yeah, but the idea is because it's a long tank.
That's right. That's
so
right.
you want something,
Definitely. I think that definitely works, and that was a great eye. So with these pieces, obviously, there's not a lot of height
Yes.
to any one piece.
Yes.
So I had the idea right away to maybe find ways to, maybe stack it a little bit, start to get some height out of it. Now, anytime I do this, I will take a look from different angles and just see that I'm looking for the most natural sort of union of the two rocks that I can get. In other words, I don't like to see two very flat spots.
Yeah, it doesn't look good.
Very right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to,
because
trying to
that little bit of a gap, the shadow kind of makes it more interesting.
Right. So I found usually you can kind of turn it different ways and look for a place where it wants to rest. Obviously, if it was also leaning too much one way or the other, it can start to kind of change the effect or the tension of the layout. This is so flat that it really wants to stay
this
flat.
way, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So in my eye, it's going to work better like that.
So maybe we can give it a little bit of a stone in the bottom.
Well, I think right now it's getting a pretty good effect even from underneath. Maybe balance it out. Let's see how this one, I'm already kind of seeing a line there.
Yes, there's a flow.
A clear flow.
Yeah.
We're kind of creating a little bit of dynamics between it here. I may want to try to get my position from each side.
Yeah.
Just how I like it there too. Now we're in a situation here too as well where, you know, this could be in this setting viewed from two sides. And I find often when people see the idea of an aquarium viewed like that, they may have a location in their space that they weren't even thinking of. They're like, oh wow, this can actually work. Viewed from multiple angles.
Multiple angles.
Right. So it can be very interesting way to approach
Yeah,
things.
this is a beautiful tank for something like, like in between two divider of sorts.
Absolutely.
Like you have a dining at one side and a sitting area, and this could divide the space.
Or what we call peninsula, obviously where it's coming off the wall, this sort of thing. So I'm picking up on this stone here. I'm seeing this this kind of overhang or this very natural sort of semblance of a cave kind of feeling there. And there's a little bit of that same effect
here
coming from this one. So I may try to kind of align those two to.
And
so
there's
I've got cave and cave here. You can see too, we're trying to pay attention to the way things are sort of pointing. You know, we're trying to give there's an angle pattern sort of emerging. These are the things that start to create composition and not just putting stones in, and you know, that can be a look too. But I find that when we're looking for patterns is how we can create things that are still feeling natural.
So I'm going to come back to you on the philosophy part. Yeah, but then that's after you finish the layout.
Cool. Look forward to that. So here, I'm going to look for, I still have this idea of one structure is a little more emphasized than the other. A little stronger there. Maybe we can kind of keep those angles around. Sometimes too, the weight
balance it out
starts to be a factor, and so on.
What if just a thought, Jeff?
Yeah.
Just a thought. What if we gave this a little bit of a kind of a overhang and still
absolutely
with that? Oh, let me just try this. Kind of bit of a overhang of sorts.
I like it.
You know? What do you think?
I think it's great. Absolutely. You know, and that's one of the joys of working with natural materials. Is, you know, there's not really there's not a right or wrong to these things, and
and it feels good. You know, however you keep it, however it starts looking good.
Sure. Yeah. And that's just the fun of playing around with it. You know, it's something that I do encourage people to really invest the time in making the hardscape, because this is the foundation. This is where the visual impact is going to come from. So let's not be in a rush on that, you see. Now here I'm in a space where I have access to resources and can work quickly when I need to. But in making your own aquascape at home, greening style, whatever you're doing, being patient and really enjoying this process and not being afraid to walk away from it and come back later the next morning and look at it again and make those fine adjustments, really be very satisfied with it, and then exactly what plants and where to put them, it'll just come to you.
True.
Right.
Agreed.
So there's no rush. Don't feel rushed on this process. Don't take all the materials home, the plants, everything's going to happen in one evening. Don't do that. This is a step unto itself and requires your full attention.
So, यहाँ पे जेफ का कहना ये है कि आराम से रहो, okay? जल्दी मत करो, जल्दबाजी मत करो, okay? And take your time. मतलब 3-4 पीस वुड रखो या स्टोन रखो, देखो उसको कैसे लगता है, वो इमेजिन करो, अपना इमेजिनेशन यूज करो. फिलॉसफी और स्टोरी के बारे में हम डिस्कस करने वाले हैं, you know, and अगर 2-4 दिन होता है या हफ्ता 10 दिन भी होता है तो आराम से सेट करो, ठीक है, जब तक आपको तसल्ली ना हो. एंड फाइनली एक ऐसा लुक आएगा जो आपको अच्छा लगने लगेगा आपके घर में. राइट जेफ?
I couldn't agree more.
You've already learned Hindi then.
So maybe now I have a tendency too to want to keep an odd number of pieces. There's many reasons for this.
Sorry, I'm laughing. He's laughing too. सुबिन और मैं दोनों इसलिए हंस रहे हैं because I always tell people, if you don't understand golden ratio,
Right.
don't worry about it.
Right.
You know, just stick to prime numbers or odd numbers, and that's something I've always said.
Be a step ahead
And that
with
is
that alone.
so nice to hear it from you.
Yeah.
You know, I always thought I was the one who had lost it.
Right.
But then you're part of the team. There you go.
No, absolutely. And even here, we're kind of, it's a more subtle
Yes.
version of this golden ratio, which when I think of golden ratio, I don't look for something very strict that I must comply with, but something that guides a direction, gives me a sense of one side having more emphasis than the other. And, you know, with natural materials, that balance can happen so many ways. So we don't need to be too worried about perfect proportions, but what feels right, but we're referencing those perfect proportions, if that makes sense.
True. It does. It does. And especially जब आप odd number ऐसा use करते हो, prime numbers, that's 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 is an odd number. तो एक automatic balance आने लगता है. Oh, that looks superb. Now the overhangs kind of balance each other.
Right. I tried to play off your overhang idea there, and
superb,
I think that worked very
superb.
well. So now we're at a point with it where we could just be satisfied with a stones only layout. This could be very effective with just the stones.
True. With just the stones, it can be equally effective because it already is looking very beautiful.
Right.
But then I want wood.
Oh, absolutely. No, and that's can be part again of the process and keeping yourself open to, you know, just some creative exploration.
Sure.
And a chance to have worked with these materials, maybe at the shop where you're purchasing them, etc.
Yeah.
This rough draft or mock-up process can be very, very helpful just to try things. Maybe you were just thinking stones and you like it, but what would happen
Yeah.
if I bring in the
wood?
Don't be afraid
Try it.
to
Yeah. And if
explore
it doesn't
these
work, it doesn't work.
That's right.
Yeah.
But don't be afraid to explore.
Yeah.
So I see we've got some very nice branches here. This big one.
Yeah. That looks interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, I would tend to start with the largest one and kind of work in the details from there. Let's just see. Let's see what it does. It could be a little too big. There could be a way. You know, I do like to avoid too much touching.
Yeah.
On the glass.
It's easier to maintain that way. If you've
correct.
got stuff touching the glass, you kind of difficult to maintain it.
You know, I feel this is going to be maybe a little large.
Little large, yeah.
Here, you know, I could play with it and start coming up with conceptual ideas, and sometimes I'll do that. I'll just go, well, what if it did stay there? You may like this sort of style.
Looks interesting.
Yeah,
but
it could.
Kind of still feels a little too big.
Right. So I'll kind of look for my next largest piece. I'm just looking for, you know, what's a way.
What kind of wood is this?
So this is manzanita wood.
Manzanita.
Yes.
Okay.
And it is collected from Northern California. Many people may know the name Tom Barr.
Yes, I know Tom Barr.
Yeah, Tom is the one who collects this. I think if you get manzanita anywhere in the world, it's from Tom Barr, which is pretty cool. So sometimes it's just going, well, let me just play with some things. I like the idea of this maybe being a little bit concealed in some kind of way. Just kind of see what happens.
This looks nice.
Yeah, sure.
Especially with the overhangs and, you know.
Right. And I'm looking for subtle things. I like how this is wrapping around
the fact. Yes, it's actually it's part of that here.
Right. So my tendency is to work kind of from the biggest down to the smallest.
Agreed.
In this case, if it's going to work back in the other direction. Now, sometimes too, you know, we may go, well, this might work underneath there, maybe not. You know, we're just going to try some things there. No big deal. We'll kind of return to that vibe there. I can't tell you why. Does it make any sense? There's a vaguely, you know, sometimes I get a certain feeling about a layout. There is something sort of making me think of India here with this particular wood in this kind of scrolling shape. I don't know why. Maybe maybe it's just something coming to me. Maybe it's the presence here. I don't know.
Maybe, but then it's also, I guess, you know, because I have actually seen places like this.
Sure.
You know, I've actually seen this. So, I mean, you're not fully wrong.
I think I want to try something else here. I might do a little, and this is a just process of experimentation, and sometimes it's just looking for that right combo. And then sometimes that smaller piece underneath that larger piece.
Yeah, it just gives it a little bit more character.
Sure. This may go in a whole different direction. You get the idea how I'm just trying to kind of drape the wood around. This is giving us a little bit of height there. And you could see too how you could play with these woods for some time, really looking for those patterns. Sometimes if I have a situation like this,
maybe this one, just trying it out.
Sure, if you like it.
What do you think?
You can see the visual interest is there now. Like we have there's no water, there's nothing else yet. We're already going, okay, I can see a pattern emerging.
Yeah.
That's always what I'm looking for.
I would maybe just have a small piece jutting out of here.
Sure.
That's what I think will...
You're liking something jutting out of here.
Yeah.
When I used to get a sort of a little panic over the idea, but now I have no problem.
It works. It works. It just works.
And that gave me that small piece. No, you look like you got a direction. Now this is good because now we've got this sort of bigger arch here and a smaller arch there.
It kind of makes it interesting.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Kind of makes it interesting.
Like I say, we could spend all time just rearranging, trying different combinations.
True.
Sometimes if I get something I like, I will make a quick video, some photos with my phone, and I've got a reference. That way, if I start over or try something,
you have something.
I can always go back, right?
So, अगर आप एक aquascape बनाते हो या एक कोई भी डिजाइन बनाते हो तो उसका वीडियो ले लो, फोटो ले लो, या वुड का मार्किंग भी कर लो 1 2 3 4, you can do anything you want. तो आप एक नया डिजाइन ट्राई कर सकते हो, and then you can come back to it. Yeah?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. In terms of starting to work with some plants for a layout like this, well, actually, first, let's do that cosmetic sand on the bottom. Let's get that settled.
So, जैसे आपने देखा, जेफ और मैंने एक लेआउट बनाया है. इंटरेस्टिंग लेआउट है. मैंजनीटा वुड है और एक अलग वैरायटी का स्टोन है. सेरियो जैसा ही स्टोन है, बट ब्यूटीफुल स्टोन है. एंड बहुत सारे चीजें कॉमन है मेरे काम करने के तरीके और जेफ सर के काम करने के तरीके में. एक वो ऑड नंबर्स यूज करना. ओके 5 स्टोन यहाँ पे 5 स्टोन 5 वुड है, बट एक और डालूंगा अगर कॉम्बिनेशन ठीक बैठने के लिए तो 11 होएगा टोटल मिला के. एंड एक इंटरेस्टिंग आइडिया है. तो आइडियाज ट्राई करना स्टॉप मत करो. नाउ ये अगेन ग्रीनिंग वाला टैंक है तो बहुत सिंपल है, कुछ भी नहीं है इसमें, फैंसी सॉइल नहीं, कुछ नहीं. तो इट्स जस्ट द स्टोन एंड वुड जो कैरेक्टर बिल्ड करता है. नाउ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंटली नेक्स्ट स्टेप थोड़ा सैंड डालेंगे, बट इससे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें हैं जो मैं जेफ से पूछना चाहता हूं और आप देखते रहो, बने रहो.
Really, there's so many different possibilities of cosmetic sand, a larger gravel, etc. Now, I'm liking this one because I feel like it really picks up on the rock, the color of the rock.
Adds color to the rock because also when we spray water, it's going to be slightly darker.
That's a good point. That can really change the character quite a lot sometimes. It can actually be a little shocking.
Yeah, if you have a lighter color sand, then the rock starts looking good. So, ये याद रखना, जब रॉक यूज करते हैं या वुड यूज करते हैं, थोड़ा सा पानी स्प्रे करके देखो तो पता चलेगा कि पानी के अंदर उसका फाइनल कलर क्या होने वाला है. It's very important.
And sometimes, at this stage, I'll even just kind of
just to give it an idea,
just to see where it's going to look, what it's going to look like once we've got water in it, and see how the character of that rock is already darkening up.
So
details we didn't see before coming out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So is the wood.
Absolutely.
So now, जैसे आपने देखा वुड थोड़ा डार्क कलर हो गया, स्टोन भी डार्क कलर हो गया, तो एक लाइट कलर सैंड यूज करना अच्छा आइडिया है. ठीक है, जब आप लाइट कलर सैंड यूज करते हो तो ज्यादा सुंदर दिखेगा. ओके, सो लेट्स
Sure. So I do like a nice cup or something to kind of dispense it. You can just pour it in. You can do it with your hands. I'm seeing more and more of these different little substrate dispensers here, which is very nice for just starting to kind of get it in a little bit more where you want it. Just kind of smooth it out after we've got our initial coverage.
So यहाँ पे आप ऐसा कोई भी कंटेनर यूज कर सकते हो जिससे आप इजीली स्प्रेड कर सके, जैसे जेफ स्प्रेड कर रहा है. ओके, छोटे छोटे कोनों में, गैप्स में आराम से जाएगा. राइट, यहाँ पे एक वाइट कलर का सैंड यूज कर रहे हैं हम लोग. ठीक है, ताकि एक्चुअली वाइट नहीं, थोड़ा लाइट कलर सैंड है ताकि हमारा स्टोन और वुड हाईलाइट हो.
You can see how this just makes it, easier to get into the tight spaces. We'll of course use another tool from aquascaping here to just level everything out.
No, यहाँ पे जैसे आपको दिखता है ना, ज्यादा डालने की जरूरत नहीं है, बहुत कम डालेंगे तो इनफ है. ओके, बिकॉज हमें चाहिए बहुत पतला लेयर, ज्यादा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड स्केप नहीं है, सिर्फ वो नीचे कवर होना है ताकि हमारा लेआउट अच्छा दिखने लगे. राइट, अगेन नो सॉइल, नो फैंसी स्टफ, या इट्स जस्ट सैंड. आप कोई भी रिवर सैंड, ग्रेवल कुछ भी यूज कर सकते हो एंड आपका लेआउट आपके हिसाब से बन जाएगा. नाउ जब तक जेफ यहाँ पे सैंड वगैरह डाल रहे हैं, मैं आपको कुछ और इंटरेस्टिंग दिखाना चाहता हूं, और वो है जेफ का यूनिक सिंपलिस्टिक डिजाइन्स एंड स्टाइल्स. ये कुछ उनके पुराने लेआउट्स के फोटोग्राफ्स हैं, मैं वो दिखा रहा हूं. प्लस मैं उनका अलग लेआउट्स भी दिखा रहा हूं आपको, जिसमें बहुत सिंपलिस्टिक है, बहुत सिंपल है, छोटे छोटे चीज है, बट बहुत सुंदर दिखता है टैंक्स. ओके, एंड कैरेक्टर आ जाता है. आप हमें लगता है कि ऐसा ही होना चाहिए बिकॉज हम इंटरनेट में देखते रहते हैं, एंड हमें लगता है कि यही स्टाइल है, यही होना चाहिए. बट एक्चुअली अगर आपने जेफ की बात सुनी होती तो आपको पता चलता कि जो भी स्टाइल आप अपनाओ, आप अपना स्टाइल अपनाओ और आप एक सुंदर या बहुत ही सुंदर एक एक्वास्केप अपने लिए बना सकते हो. यहां पे हमें नेक्स्ट स्टेप सैंड फ्लैटन करना है. सैंड फ्लैटनर यूज कर सकते हो या ब्रश यूज कर सकते हो, बट जेफ हमें एक नया ट्रिक सिखाने वाले हैं, एक ऐसा स्प्रेयर यूज करके. सो हम सैंड को इजीली फ्लैटन कर पाएंगे एंड उसको ऐसे कोनों में लेके जाएंगे जहां पे हाथ नहीं जा सकता है. ठीक है, तो एक स्प्रे ऐसा स्ट्रॉन्ग स्प्रे बनाए और ऐसे धीरे धीरे अगर स्प्रे करके उसको सैंड को पुश करेंगे तो ब्यूटिफुली अंदर जाएगा. ये एक नया ट्रिक सीखा हमने आज.
Sometimes too, in the tighter spaces where you can't easily get the tool, you can even kind of level it, and instead of the sand at the front making a crazy up and down and not, I really think it gives a nice finished appearance to have it very straight. Yeah. And that can be, and you can see too how I'm kind of getting it underneath the rocks. So
true.
In this way, we weren't placing the rocks on top of sand and it's sort of rocking around, and I just find there can be stability issues sometimes doing that.
Yes.
But I do want the sand to look integrated, and so again, kind of working it much easier than using the sand flattener tool. And then the sand just tends to lay down better once we start to get it wet. It's giving us kind of a more finished look before we've actually got water. Anywhere I got sand on the rocks, I can also clean it off very easily. You mentioned brushes, and like a paintbrush, or different brushes works very well. Sometimes I've made a layout though, it's just hard to get my hands in there the way I want to. And so this was a little trick I learned just out in this, and I can now kind of I can just kind of move it. I can move it around with the water and
you go into the crevices. Yeah, it goes into the gaps. That's a superb trick. Yeah.
So anything with these little USB charging motors can be great.
And now you get a pressure pump kind of a thing, which still works.
Sure, that works too. That works too. So now you see that's given us a much cleaner finished look.
And of course, when we fill water, it kind of levels out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I like to have those sorts of issues sort of solved ahead of time as much as I can. You're right, it'll smooth out after the water comes in, And in terms of just the process of making the layout, I'm always wanting to get that feeling for the finished layout as I go, as I work.
As
So
you
these
go.
little things can give you a better sense of the direction it's
Agreed.
going.
Agreed. So हमारे पास यहाँ पे Anubias petite है, okay?
Sure.
And इसको हम प्लेस कर सकते हैं, दिखाएंगे कि कैसे प्लेस कर सकते हैं, कहाँ पे प्लेस करना है जब से पूछते हैं.
Right, and you know, this came from the classic potted stock,
Okay.
and we removed it from the rock wool, trimmed off the excess roots. The roots were quite long out of the pot, that's normal. And then I love any kind of little
Stone or-
there's little small stones with a flat side
Yeah,
to it,
yeah.
just a tiny dab of glue on there, and then now it's going to just stay wherever
Yes,
we put it.
Yes.
And so, you know, some of the natural places I start to see is sort of down in this area here, maybe. You know, it's almost too good to be true. You can place this Anubias anywhere.
True.
And it's so happy to grow there.
It's happy there.
This is
Yeah.
this is just a really, really big bonus of working with these plants, because you're thinking, oh my gosh, it's not going to grow just sitting on top of that wood. It's like, no, that's where it would prefer
That's
to
where
be.
it will love to grow.
It really doesn't want to be in a soil. And you can start to see the greening is coming in now. We're just adding the green.
Yes. Yes.
The visual interest is in the hardscape, but we want to warm it up. We want to bring in the green. And, you know, you could even have not bought, or maybe you couldn't get all the plants you want to put in at once.
But you can do it slowly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unlike a soil layout, it's really challenging to spread out the planting over some weeks when you have a soil, because now you're going to have a big open space of soil there. Some plants are already starting to grow very quickly, and these plants. So this plant is not going to change very much from how it looks right now.
Agreed.
In 1 month's time, it's still going to. So if I add
yeah, maybe
some
it'll
more,
get a few leaves, but
yes,
that's it.
That's it. So I could
Yeah.
easily add more,
More.
and it's not going to look disproportionate.
True,
Or this one's
true,
been growing,
true.
this one's new.
True. So-
Another benefit of the stock.
Yeah. So एक greening concept में जेफ कह रहे हैं कि and correct भी है, because आपको अगर आज plants नहीं मिला तो क्या हुआ, कल ऐड कर लो. आज अनुबियास मिल गए, ऐड कर लो. कल थोड़ा मॉस लेके आके ऐड करना, बिकॉज ये कुछ होने वाला नहीं है, प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं है, बिकॉज यहाँ पे कोई algae इश्यूज नहीं होने वाला है, कुछ दूसरा नहीं होने वाला है. ठीक है. नाउ इंपॉर्टेंट चीज, अगर आपका फिल्ट्रेशन अच्छा है, ठीक है, आपका लाइटिंग डिसेंट भी है, एंड आप कोई भी सिंपल सा फर्टिलाइजर यूज करते हो, कोई भी ऑल इन वन फर्टिलाइजर यूज करते हो, तो काम कर जाएगा. एंड एक हार्डस्केप 4-6 अनुबियास डाल के इतना सुंदर हो चुका है, एंड हो जाता भी है. सो ये ग्रीनिंग का कॉन्सेप्ट है, राइट?
Absolutely, yes. And so you can see here too, where if this is all the plants I had, I've already got a pretty
beautiful looking
enjoyable
tank, yes.
layout. And in the coming weeks, I will add some more. I may come across a new Bucephalandra at my local supplier. I've got to have it. So
Yeah, I've
easy
got
to
place.
integrate.
Yes.
That's right. And it's unique in that sense, because the traditional sequence of aquascaping with soil, etc., really has us trying to get all the plants in there on the first day before there's even water. And so here we could just
True.
continue
True.
to add over the weeks and months ahead, and the aquarium is going to evolve together as one. So yet another benefit.
सुपर. जेफ अगेन, मैं जेफ को शुक्रिया कहते तक नहीं जाऊंगा आज, बिकॉज यू नो ये एक बहुत ही सुंदर मौका है मुझे, जहाँ पे मैं कुछ एक नया कॉन्सेप्ट सीख रहा हूँ. आप सबको एक नया कॉन्सेप्ट आपके सामने है. इस एक्वास्केप या इस डिजाइन सही शब्द है, इस डिजाइन का फिलॉसफी क्या है?
Yes, so what I loved that sort of naturally emerged here, and I just followed this cue from the materials, is this very kind of flat, this linear effect of the stones, and then the wood with the curves and the scrolls, and this kind of a contrast that's working together, though.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that
It's complementing each other.
That's right. That's right. Instead of trying to continue the linear effect with the wood, we're kind of bringing these two worlds together. And then as far as the plants go, you know, I'm just looking for those little union points, those places where
things are joining. The
You
wood is
got it.
joining the wood, or the stone is joining the wood.
You got it.
Yeah.
And maybe you had
And
made
actually,
a place.
that's probably what happens in nature as well. It's those union points that actually grow plants.
You got it.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And you may have had a place too where there was sort of a harsh line,
Yeah.
and you can be thinking, oh, I can use a plant there to break up that line. So
Sure.
you don't always have to worry about total perfection at the hardscape stage. The beauty of these plants is I can work them in to those places where the wood and the stone
Sure.
do meet,
Sure.
and create a very natural soft
And we
effect.
could have something like even Monte Carlo growing here.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
and with the roots going down.
It could happen,
And
yes.
the Monte Carlo falling down like a waterfall of sorts. Look very interesting. Yeah.
Definitely doable.
Beautiful, it'll look
Yes.
beautiful. Jeff, another important question which I generally ask everyone, and I tell people also, when you make an aquascape of any kind, whatever you design, whatever you have a storyline, have a storyline. So you kind of hinted that it looks very much like India. So
As a guy in the U.S. imagining, it's just imagination. It's not a literal. but
you
it's a
won't be
feeling.
wrong, because I've actually seen places like this, because I'm actually going to share a B-roll here of a location that looks very similar to
Oh
this.
wow, very
Yeah?
interesting.
Which,
Very
which I've actually seen.
Yes. See, that's fantastic. It's just a feeling that's coming, and you're sort of following that along. And, sometimes I'll just have a word even in my head. I'm thinking stream, or,
Yeah.
and so I'm not trying to recreate a literal scene, but the idea of a stream, or the bank side, or the forest, or these sorts of, they're just informing the direction. So, sometimes these creative thinking or what's going on in your head can be hard to put into words. So don't worry about that.
That visually starts showing.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I have these aquascapes that I make. One of them I call it Tiger's Den, and they're all forest connected because I love going into the jungles and wildlife safaris and stuff like that. I spent a lot of my life doing that. So I've got one called the Leopard Mountain. So I actually imagine that if there was a leopard, how it would go and want to have a cave, and it would want to have an overhang of plants because it didn't want to be seen, and all of that imagination starts coming through.
Yes, absolutely. And that's again what will inform your direction. It doesn't always have to be literal. I find sometimes people get a little too stuck
with that
trying to make it literally happen.
Yeah.
It's like, no, just use that as a guide, as a feeling.
Guide. See, Jeff, you have been known world over for your simplistic designs. Now, greening as a concept is probably the simplest form. ऐसा एक concept है जो इतना easy है कि कोई भी aquarium lover या hobbyist उसको अपना सकता है, use कर सकता है. So, what got you into this kind of simple, straight? I mean, I won't say straightforward. Straightforward is not the word here at all. It's actually, there's a lot of character. It's not straightforward, but it's so simple.
Right. So for me, a lot of it was just learning about other forms of design. Interior design styles can be very minimal, or it can be very eclectic, and there's many objects, and they can all have an impact or be effective in so many different ways. And it seemed like the aquarium had this opportunity, also this potential to bring in the idea of minimalism, or we had all seen enough aquarium layouts that had so many species of plants, lots of activity, and I said, what if we start to take away nothing that we don't need, or what is the effect of that, or how do we make that work? And this was a little bit of new ground at the time, so I was able to explore something that I felt like was working or was effective, and people noticed, and that was very rewarding.
There is a huge learning here, life lesson, and that is life doesn't have to be complicated with too many things. Remove the complications, and you still have something amazingly simple, yet beautiful. So it works with an aquarium, and it works with life, I guess.
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Very well put.
हाँ, so जिंदगी हो या aquarium, simple रखो, okay? बहुत सुंदर लगेगा, right? Jeff, thank you so much for this.
It's my pleasure.
Okay,
Yes.
this is our pleasure, my honor.
Thank you.
Okay, because like I said, I've been following you for so long, and having to stand with you and create this aquascape, and it's like, you know, a dream come true.
Thank you.
Okay, for me and for a lot of hobbyists.
Thank you.
Before we move out of this video, one word of advice that you'd give hobbyists across the world who is watching this video, you know, something that you would want them to take back home.
Sure. I think it's absolutely this idea of philosophy, and that was just so impactful to me when Mr. Amano, you know, I had a nice aquarium, the water was clear, the plants were growing well, but when I could bring in that element of philosophy, which I later interpreted as design, and the idea of design in the aquarium will give us that. It's a third powerful element. We already have water. This human body is 70+% water. We love this feeling of being
The
near
connection
water.
to
That's
water,
right.
yes.
We have life in
Yeah.
the fishes, and
Yeah.
if we choose to have plants, little isolations of consciousness swimming around in there. It's just something so fascinating. Water and life, if we can bring in this third element of design, wow, it really just takes it to another level of engagement, and just the effect when we take in that scene is elevated with that third element of design. And so I would invite everyone to bring in the element of design even into their aquarium.
So, अपने aquascapes में, अपने जिंदगी में, bring in an element of design. Simple रखो, yet, you know, there's so much that you can get from this. Jeff, I have to ask you this question. If you're going to continue keeping this design here, what fish would you use?
Right. So, you know, that sometimes I know right away. Other times I do sort of have to just see what evolves. One thing that just popped into my head, literally just came to me when you're asking the question, is threadfin or featherfin rainbow.
Featherfin rainbow.
Yeah, it could be
All right.
very interesting. We keep the flow a little on the low side. This
Can I suggest another fish?
Sure.
It's called the drape fin barb.
Oh, I love a drape fin barb. Absolutely. That's a
I think
fantastic
they
choice.
look stunning in this.
They
tank.
would. I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
I would not hesitate to put a drape fin barb in this aquarium.
So, बस मैं तो अलग लेवल पे हूँ. Stone मैंने choose किया, wood मैंने choose किया. I'm choosing the fish as well.
Yes.
I'm at another level.
Yes.
Thank you
Hopefully ADG
so
has
much.
elevated your experience.
Sir, more than elevated our experience. More than elevated
That's
our
great.
experience.
Thank you so much.
You know, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
मैं जो सोच रहा हूँ कि यहाँ पे और क्या प्लांट्स जा सकते हैं. इंटरेस्टिंग ब्यूसिफिलांद्रस, अलग कलर्स के, अलग वैरायटीज के, या थोड़ा बहुत बड़े कॉफी फोलिया वगैरह, अनुबियस थोड़ा बड़ा, यू नो, जो नीचे जा सकते हैं. इंटरेस्टिंग लगेगा, यू नो, जंगल लाइक लगेगा. मॉस बहुत यूज कर सकते हो. रिकार्डिया मॉस हो या कोई क्रिसमस मॉस हो या कोई भी मॉस हो, अलग अलग जगहों पे यूज कर सकते हो. बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग एक्वास्केप या बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग डिजाइन लगेगा, और वो भी एक ग्रीनिंग एक्वेरियम डिजाइन लगेगा. सो मैं तो बहुत खुश हूँ बॉस. मेरा एक सपना पूरा हो गया. यू नो, मैं जेफ से मिला, अमेजिंग एक्सपीरियंस था. एक आई मीन ये साथ में बनाना इटसेल्फ एक एक्सपीरियंस है कि नहीं? सो आशा करता हूँ कि ये वीडियो से आपने बहुत कुछ सीखा, देखा, जाना, समझा, एंड आप भी ये कॉन्सेप्ट, ग्रीनिंग का कॉन्सेप्ट अपनाओगे और यूज करोगे. सिंपल आइडिया है, सिंपल कॉन्सेप्ट है. ओके, एंड ये कॉन्सेप्ट उनके लिए ज्यादा वर्क करता है जिनके वहां ज्यादा चीजें मिलते नहीं है. ठीक है, और जो मिलता है उससे आप ब्यूटीफुल एक एक्वास्केप बना सकते हो, है कि नहीं? सो मेरे तरफ से एक्वेरियम डिजाइन ग्रुप, जेफ सेंस के एंड कैमरामैन सुबिन, हम सब की तरफ से आप सबको थैंक यू, नमस्ते, खुदाफिज, शब खैर एंड सत श्री अकाल. बहुत जल्दी मिलेंगे बस. बहुत सारे वीडियोस आने वाले हैं, बहुत सारे कॉन्सेप्ट्स आप देखने वाले हो, बहुत सारे जगह हम जाने वाले हैं, ऐसे बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग लोगों से मिलने वाले हैं, बहुत सीखने वाले हैं. मजा आएगा. चलो बने रहो, जुड़े रहो, लाइक करो, सब्सक्राइब करो, मजा करो. टिल देन, बाय बाय.
Against your badge, they much and have a wonderful day.